Hey, welcome back to another episode on our new series, Pro Tips to Live a Dynamic Lifestyle. If you're new to this show, you definitely want to stay for this because we're dropping them every single day and we're giving you guys tips from literally experts and legit pro tips on how to live a dynamic lifestyle, especially in this pandemic and new circumstances and landscape that we're facing. So if you're interested, make sure to subscribe below. Other than that, get ready for this next one.
All right, guys, welcome back to another pro tip series on how to live a dynamic lifestyle through this pandemic with Lyle McDonald. Lyle, how you doing today?
I'm good, y'all. How are y'all hanging in?
We're doing good, man. I was going to say cheers to you because I saw you pop open a Coke Zero, or excuse me, Diet Coke, right?
It's generic. It's our generic grocery store diet soda. But
Gotcha. Well, cheers to that. So, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to chat with you. And let's kick this off. So, how are you doing personally? We were chatting a little bit before we hit the record button. And more importantly, too, I wanted to see, what are some tips that you could give to the listener that might be struggling right now through this pandemic?
Well, my life is weird. I work at home and spend most of my time in front of the computer and don't really go out much. So I can't say it's impacted me that directly. The big thing, I used to do karaoke 2 nights a week. So I do miss that. It was a big social outlet for me. I think for me, the biggest issue has just been how weird this feels, right? And this was I'm old and I don't know, I don't think I ever pictured this happening in my lifetime, or it seems like a surreal dream, bad science fiction movie. And I think the biggest thing that really hit me, this was early on. This is like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Austin, our grocery stores, were limited to how many people they could let in. So you stood out in line and social distancing and all of that. And it's like, whatever. But I kind of had this epiphany. I know you live in America, I live in America. I'm used to having access to everything I want at any time of day. And it was like, this is how people in other parts of the world live all the time.
Yeah.
Right. To go into the store and just to see certain areas stripped bare. I mean, admittedly, we get that in the winter. If there's the hint of snow, Texans and Southerners go nuts. But even so, it was like, wow, we're going to be out of rice for a month. We're going to be out of staple foods. It was really just like, wow, it made me really aware of how easy we've had it. Yeah. And it was really eye-opening. And a friend of mine who came from sort of a poor background, let's face it, folks that are not financially well off often face that. She's like, it's kind of humbling. And I was like, yeah, it was really eye-opening, just in that sense, and in hopefully a good way for me somehow down the road. So, now it doesn't feel the same. Everything's kind of gone back to normal-ish. I'm not seeing the big lines. Austin and Texas have relaxed a lot of that. We just started reopening. I think restaurants can have 25%. Our gyms reopen on Monday, and not sure how that's going to go. The guidelines I saw sent out were you have to have your machine 6 feet apart and limit the number of people. And I'm just like, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, for facilities that don't have that kind of space, what do? Do you just pull out every other piece? I don't see practically how a lot of that's going to work, but it still just feels strange, And of course, we're beset on both sides by the extremes and the middle ground of lock it all down, but people are, losing their jobs, their homes, and open it up, but people are going to die. And I mean, there's not an easy answer. So it's just been weird. Kind of mentally and psychologically. I mean, again, I'm lucky enough that I work at home. My source of income is online. So I don't think I have probably experienced it as much as a lot of people. And I know some business owners. One didn't think they were going to make it. They were a small private gym. With the reopening, it looks like they are, going to be able to survive. But for a lot of people, I realize that this is absolutely disastrous.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that too. All of your thoughts. And I mean, I want to dig deeper into that question we're talking about with gyms, because you guys did open up a couple of weeks ago. Like we were saying here in California that gyms haven't opened up and we don't know when they're going to open up. So I know you've been around for a while, man. So, you have a lot of experience, in the fitness industry. You're one of the pioneers we've looked up to for a long time. So what is your predictions on this pandemic, how it's going to shift things in the fitness industry?
It's a really good question because I've seen people so I know I've got a trainer friend and she trains people half at home and half at Anytime Fitness. And obviously Anytime Fitness closed the doors. she probably could have kept training people, but we were under shelter in place and probably not the way to do it. And she trained many of her clients virtually. You know, she would like literally FaceTime with them. Now, is this ideal? Probably not. But then again, online training has been growing for 15 years. Like, if you can technically train someone from a different state, I can see how that would work. Two other friends of mine, they own a private facility. And I asked them how they were doing because they had to shut their doors. And they said, well, I think they translated like 30% of their clientele to just virtual training.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing, this is just, if I'm going to say anything optimistic on this entire thing, the number of changes in our world in the past 6 weeks, I mean, truly, this is a world-changing event.
Yeah.
Not just in the bad ways. We've realized how many people can work from home. I mean, the traffic, the pollution. A cousin of mine is a physician. I mean, he closed his doors instantaneously. He said, going forward, telemedicine is the future. Like, for many types of things, why should I have to drive, park, to go wait because people are behind for somebody that I can do a consult online?
Yeah.
You've got that aspect, really, with virtual training, with so many things that I think are going to come out of this that are just going to change the way we approach things.
Yeah, 100%.
Even from a safety standpoint, or just because of a convenience standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I have a client, or one of my trainer friends has a client who doesn't want to do a 45-minute drive in awful Austin traffic, if you can train them literally via FaceTime or Zoom or Skype or whatever, then, I mean, why wouldn't you? Like, what? Yeah, I mean, admittedly, yes, we want to be able to give form feedback and technique, and there's all that stuff. But if you've got a consistent client and wants that even part of the time, I think that's going to be a really big change for people, is the realization that it can be done. It can be done effectively. And just, I mean, why wouldn't you? Just that, like, actually, here's my idea. Here's someone to go patent this.
Yeah.
A Zoom boot camp. Like, why not? You can do conference calls on this thing.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you, in premise, lead 16 people through a workout virtually?
Yeah.
Like,
I bet someone's doing it already.
Probably so. Like, I mean, I don't have to do this, but it's like, why wouldn't you? And
Yeah.
if that allows you to provide expertise, either from a distance, convenience, whatever it is, I do think that's really going to be, it won't surprise me if we see a larger percentage of people moving towards that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, it's something we've been talking about. A common theme on this podcast series is just, it's forced adoption of technology. You know what I mean? So it's like,
oh yeah,
Blockbuster back in the day, they never thought that, Netflix was going to come, right? Everybody used to like going to get their movies, but
sure.
What they realized was they actually don't like leaving their house. They actually like flicking on the Netflix in the comfort of their own home, so it's kind of almost the same thing.
Oh, I can go back. I remember when Netflix started, and back then they actually mailed you physical DVDs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Actually, you went online and you selected them. And I had a friend who was an early adopter, and he would just be like, they'll send you 3 at a time. So we'd get 2 movies you wanted to see and something random out of their catalog just because he could. People got sick of late fees. They got sick of going in and not having access because the new movie was out. And of course, Blockbuster was in the old model. They didn't see the future. And they're gone now. I believe there's one left in, was it Alaska? There's one remaining Blockbuster store, but it's in a state up in some super rural area.
Yeah.
Same thing when Redbox came around.
Yep.
Who's going to do this? Who's going to go get? And the answer is everybody, because it's $1. You don't have to go to a clerk. You can draw. And then of course, when streaming came around. Oh, and I do want to say, if I'd had any sort of initiative, I should have been the one making money on this. College, right? There's on 1993, right? To get a song, you had to buy the album.
Are you a fitness professional looking to create more income, impact, influence, and independence? If so, we actually just dropped our new book, Rise of the Fit Pros, so you guys can be on your way to doing all those things, and you can sit there and build your hybrid training model. So if you're interested in getting your copy, make sure to click the book or the link right here, and you guys can grab it. Other than that, make sure to enjoy the rest of the show.
Occasionally there would be like CD singles, right? If you wanted the radio hit, you had to buy an album. And I remember thinking, there should be a way for me to buy the one song that I want individually. I came up with iTunes, but same thing, right? When iTunes came around, all the big record companies said, no way. no way is this going to be, this won't work. People, we sell albums, we don't sell songs, and they got left behind. And so I think you guys are absolutely right. The technologies that are either being utilized differently or that are just going to get developed out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And streaming is a great example. And it's been interesting. I'm sure y'all have seen the entire movie industry is just thrown into disarray. All the big summer movies they couldn't release, and some of them went direct to streaming.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, yes, it's different on a big screen and all of that. And I remember seeing a story, I think it was AMC Theaters said, we're going to boycott any company that goes straight to streaming. And my thought was, I guess these movie theaters really do want to go out of business, because that's all that's going to happen is the movie companies are going, well, we can give it to you and not make all the profit, or we can stream it to people who just want to sit at home and watch it.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I get it on Netflix, I'll pay $2.99 to watch it on Amazon. I don't like going to crowded theaters. So I think all of that stuff, I think any industry that can conceivably be automated in that sense, and there are some that won't, right? Well, hell, I saw Twitter said that now 100% of its people can work from home, which, I mean, what were they doing that they needed to be in, I guess, coding? I don't really know what they've been doing. Dell here in Austin, big computer company, they already had like 30% at home. They're going to have like 50% of their workers work from home, right? Now they manufacture chips. They do they do have to have physical workers. Obviously there's medical procedures like that you are going to have to probably go in, although a female I knew apparently had something female going on. They just put the camera up and did Zoom, and they had their OBGYN checking it. But there are certain things clearly, I mean, when they can do a virtual prostate exam, I might start getting them again.
Yeah.
But I do think that any industry that can conceivably be done at home or be streamed more conveniently, because people don't want to go out. Traffic's terrible. Pollution is, I don't want to have to go out and do any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at even grocery delivery, curbside, all that stuff. People will always pay for convenience, but this type of thing is going to absolutely take over going forward.
Yeah. You make some great points there. So I want to shift gears here, Lyle, and let's just say hypothetically that your business got completely wiped out by the pandemic. And I know like your business is pretty much bulletproof because of everything's online, but my hope is to give the listener some confidence and some motivation on what they could do, take some steps. But all the skills that you've acquired over the years and the experience, let's say it did wipe out your business, how would you rebuild your business back up?
God, that's a really good question, because I've never had to think about it, right? It's like my books have just been on such autopilot for so many years. I mean, I guess what are people talking about? Having to pivot their industry and simply figuring out, probably what I would do if my book sales just went to zero, I would at least look into online training, consulting, seminars, that type of thing that can be done digitally, there's already interest. I mean, I get requests. I don't like online training because I'm too hands-on of a coach. I could make a big change that would be sort of just a different focus of what I already do. I genuinely don't know. The only real context I have for this is went through a period in my early 40s where I was kind of like, I retired from sport. I was burnt out on fitness, and I was like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? It was like, let's face it, I had a slight midlife crisis, because I'm like, I've been doing this for 20 some odd years now. If not this, what would I go do? And I actually never came up with an answer. And I just ended up finally getting back into the one thing that I was good at. But I do have a friend who had to reinvent himself. His career basically went away, not because of Corona, but just it was disappearing. So he's like, well, he took his skill set, which is already in tech, and he simply became a Google securities, does cloud security, right? He's like, this is going to be the future, and he will be employed for, the foreseeable future. I would simply have to find a way to take what my skill set already is and find a different application for it. Whether it was online, I might actually have to go back out in the real world and start training people, or build a gym in my garage and train people face to face. But it would be simply, for me, it would be finding another option for the skill set I already have. Because the idea of learning an entire new skill sets to the ability, I would need to be successful at it. I mean, I know people do it. I don't think I could face it right now.
Gotcha.
Unless I truly had to.
Yeah, appreciate the honesty.
No, thanks for all those tips and stuff. So as we kind of wrap up on this, Lyle, just want to take a moment to commend you. Like Chris said earlier, we've always looked up to you as one of the elite pioneers, all your great information you put out and just what you've done for the industry. So thank you for that. And thank you for your time. Yeah. So where can the listeners support you and what could we support you with right now?
My website, as always, bodyrecomposition.com. My big project has been fixing a lot of issues in terms of like search engine optimization. Like honestly, so going back to your question, one of the things I've always done in my career is I am a control freak, and B, I'm just kind of like, I like to know how to do it myself. So I needed a new website. I built it myself off of a WordPress template. I had to learn HTML, CS, so I have some of that skill set. I've had to become much more familiar with search engine optimization and stuff like that. Like if push came to shove, I would dive into that and I would just like fake my way into a gig of doing SEO for a big website. Like, you just got to know one more thing than they do.
Yeah.
So I do have some sub skills that I could probably leverage if I had to. So anyway, my website, bodyrecomposition.com. All my articles, best place to find me is my Facebook group, which is bodyrecomposition.com. I'm super active. I've also got a lot of just experts in their own fields. I've got some top-notch physios, physicians, and OBGYN. A guy that I don't think gets as much press as he should. There's a guy named Trevor Bunch in my group, and he runs a Facebook page called The Fit Bunch. And he is a double below knee amputee. And he basically does adapted exercise for individuals with double leg amputations. Now, this isn't something I would ever probably use personally with a client, but it's looking at his stuff has made me think about things in a different way. Like, what if you have an injury? What if you have an issue that you can't just do traditional stuff? And I wish more people were aware. And he's in my group, and he's a super friendly, super nice guy. Because individuals with disabilities or amputations do have issues that we often don't consider.
Yeah.
So my group is probably in my store.bodyrecomposition.com. And that's pretty much it. Instagram is at McDonald Lyle, which is mainly dumb jokes. That's predominantly dad jokes. And so that's, and other than that, just, I know people are struggling. I truly do. And I do hope it's going to get better.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
It may be, as much as I do see, and then I'll let y'all go, all the negative news, and it's really, because that's most of what we see, you do still see the snippets. There's going to be a breakthrough. That was something else, talking about world changing. I have never personally seen the scientific community come together and work so quickly on a problem.
Yeah.
Usually stuff like this is just kind of like, there's this thing going on. Every day or every week, somebody is making a breakthrough. Somebody is making a discovery. Things are already in clinical trials that we're rushing through, that all it takes is for that first big discovery. And the way there's so many scientists working on this, the effects will be exponential, unfortunately, like viral transmission. But as soon as that first discovery is made, people will build on that. And that's all it's going to take to hopefully get this under control, whether it's a short-term prevention, cure for the people that are, in the hospital. It's just a matter of time. There's too many smart people doing too much work relentlessly for that first breakthrough not to happen. And then it's just going to snowball from there.
Yeah, I agree. No, well said.
For sure. So we'll definitely end it on that good note. Lyle, again, thank you so much. We'll have everything linked up in the show notes. Guys, go follow Lyle McDonald. Lyle, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video and another episode on pro tips on living a dynamic lifestyle. We truly appreciate it. Hope you got a lot of value out of it. If you're interested in getting more value like this from these pro tips, make sure to subscribe above. We're going to be dropping these daily. Also, if you are a fitness professional and you're looking to create more income, impact, influence, and independence, we just dropped our new book, Rise of the Fit Bros, so you guys can do all of that. You can also start building your hybrid training model with in-person and online training. So make sure to click the link or the book right here to grab your guys' copy, and we'll send it over to you. Other than that, we're out. Talk to you soon.